So we finally made it to Coco.
Yes, I wanted to see it ever since we see all the trailers, and it is what I expected. Such a cute, heartfelt movie, and of course, being Pixar, I did cry.
And that's the thing too, is at D23 it was all about Coco, and we even got this awesome poster from them, and we gave one away to Subculture Recall up in Phoenix. But either way, Coco was definitely, like you said, it's a heartwarming story with a lot of heartbreak and a lot of feel-good happiness, just what you would expect from Pixar.
Right, and a lot of people were worried about this movie considering that there was already a movie that was surrounding itself around Dia de los Muertos, and thinking that it had the same feel. Well, obviously it's going to have the same feel because it's around the same holiday and around celebrating the Day of the Dead, and it was nothing like Book of Life. I thought that it had a completely different tone. The only thing that it was similar was that it was surrounding itself with the Day of the Dead.
Yeah, but there's like 50 million Christmas movies.
That's very true. So this is, I'm so happy that they made a movie like this, and I really enjoyed Coco, and I would put it in my top Pixar movies for sure. This had a lot of heart, and coming from a Mexican background, it was closer to home because there was a lot of stuff that I was like, oh, I know that.
Yeah.
And so I know obviously there are a lot of people out there who that's their heritage, and I hope that Pixar was able to take that and make something that is worthwhile for you guys to see that you enjoyed.
And that's the thing, there were a lot of different elements that we did connect with, and granted there were some things that my family wasn't really huge in celebrating Dia de los Muertos growing up. Vanessa was a little different. I mean, she would go down to Mexico City and they would celebrate Dia de los Muertos, but all in all there were just certain moments and parts of the family, the familia, the abuelita, the brothers, the sisters, and the chancla, chasing down people and beating them with it, and then eating the corn on the stick.
So I was like sitting there and I was like, that's so good, I want it.
And that's the thing too, is I mean, Miguel, I loved Miguel. Seeing Miguel, it definitely brought me back to my cousins, my primos and primas, me and my, growing up, and that was this, something that we always kind of connected with was the familia.
And I totally understand too, and like a big part of it when you go, you celebrate, and I love that it surrounded itself with music.
Right.
And family, and that is one big thing about that, is that you celebrate with music and you celebrate your family with having the food and all of the stuff and the ofrendas.
The festivas.
Yes, and then the ofrendas that you would have up with all the pictures of your family, and then you would just celebrate with music and having a good time because you're celebrating their life.
And then going into the Land of the Dead, I mean, they didn't really waste a whole lot of time. He got there pretty quick, which we did see that whole scene.
Yes.
His introduction and going into like the bureaucracy of coming back for the Day of the Dead and then going, back and...
Right, and I love that there wasn't that much of a middle shift in there, that they didn't waste any time. You got to see the Day of the Dead, and you got to see how they came and how they go or come back and everything. And then this was a cute little adventure movie that he had to find his way back.
And twists and turns aplenty throughout this freaking movie. Like, I thought I had it pegged, and I'm like, oh dang, yeah, this is that's his grandfather, and then it wasn't his grandfather.
Yeah,
and I did not see the main turn coming.
You didn't see the main turn coming until it was already there. Right. And you're like, oh, this is not who you think it is at all. And then you figure, that happens, and then all of a sudden you figure out, oh, it's been this person the whole time. It's been, spoilers,
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Yeah, it's been Hector the whole time.
Ernesto de la Cruz freaking murdered Hector, which is like, it's dark. Up until that point, there's no antagonist other than the family going after Miguel
for
using the
alebreja,
and it was they were just kind of like oh no, we don't want you. Like, even a couple times I leaned over and I was just uttering like, they're jerks, I don't like them, because he wanted to go back, he wanted to play music, and they were just so stubborn about the whole thing. But then you find out it's much darker than it actually is laid out to be, man. It's
Ernesto.
Yeah, Vicente Fernandez is all I could keep saying.
Basically, but it was Benjamin Bratt did the voice for him.
He did, and we saw him singing at D23.
Yeah.
He sang the, I believe it was Remember Me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely a lot of fun then. It was a lot of fun now.
And the music was cute too that they did in this, like that Remember Me song. That part really was very heartfelt, and I cried because that song was Hector for Coco.
Of course.
And then he takes that song away from, or Ernesto takes that song away from him.
And going into the land of the dead as well, just that was so vibrant, so colorful, so much fun too, being in there. I wanted to kind of see more. It was kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, where it's like you're in there and actually go more places. I want to hang out and see what else is going on.
Me too, and there was a lot of times too, and they do answer this question, because I remember going there and I was like, well, they could just like, why wouldn't a lot of them go and see their family if they, like, there's some people that stay and some people that go, but it's like, why won't you want to go see your family and stuff? And then I was like, there was a bunch of people that didn't, I guess, have family that would remember them.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what would happen to them if that, and then they showed it that they die again, basically a final death.
Yeah.
And that was really heartbreaking too, because if you kind of go off and become dust because nobody remembers you anymore.
And seeing all the different alebrijes throughout the land.
It's so cute, because I remember I had a little like colorful dog that when I went to Mexico, and it was just like what they show too.
And how freaking Ernesto had like the little chihuahuas.
Yeah.
And like the one is sleeping the whole time he's walking too.
I was like, I want that.
And then seeing Frida as well with like, and they're all me. Like she's so artistic and
then she's got everything as like, that sounds like
a little vanity issue as well. But either way, going into that world and finally accomplishing what they need to do, and then turning the entire universe of this movie on Ernesto for what he is just a complete jerk, a horrible person, a horrible being, and then getting Hector getting everything he wanted, which is just his daughter.
And I will say this, nobody died. Well, they did, but
they were all dead.
They were all dead, but like there was still like that heartfelt. It wasn't like
the loss.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There was definitely moments of loss, but there was no like final
But there wasn't
loss.
like a final lost. Like I thought Hector was gonna go, and like he wouldn't be there. Then that would have been the loss,
of course,
for us, because he was on this journey with us the whole time, but it never happened. I mean,
Dante even at one point fell, and you're like, no, Dante, but you knew he was gonna come back with his little wings and fly away.
And then of course, I mean, the only one really was Coco.
Yeah, Coco, and that was the saddest part, of course, because there was Coco, and I didn't know who Coco was, and then they let you know pretty early on. But for me, like, my great-grandmother was Memo, and Memo was the one that tied us all together, so seeing Coco, like, totally put me back to when I was a little kid sitting with Memo. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, un poquito, but when I was with Memo, I knew exactly what she said every time she spoke to me, but yet it was just like this connection, being able to talk to my great-grandmother, who spoke nothing but Spanish. So I was fully connected there, and that's kind of what kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, was the Espanol, or their lack thereof Espanol.
Right, and then I understand it being because it's a Pixar movie. They did have the little, like...
Spanglish.
Spanglish, here and there, when you say abuelita and, like, mama and papa... And then you say...
Hector would come up with little nicknames for him as
tío,
a gordito. Like,
tío, hijo, like, and then, like, Julio and all this stuff. And then, what else? There was little bits and pieces, and it was almost like the little bits and pieces are the ones that people know. Right. Generally, if you don't know Spanish, you would know those words. At least I would think you would know those words.
And if you don't know them, it's just a nickname and you don't get it, but everybody else kind of does. But certain parts, like when they were singing, when they first introduced you to Ernesto and he's like singing that song, I'm like, why is this in English? This should all be in Spanish. The whole thing. Everything should be in Spanish. So even if I just watched it with subtitles and the whole thing was in Spanish,
I think I would still,
I think it'd feel a little bit more like the way it's supposed to be for me.
Now, the only thing really, though, that I had a downer, I guess, was the Frozen thing at the beginning.
It's not even Coco. It's not even Coco, but yeah, it's a part of it.
I mean, it was fine. Like, they did, you know how, like, Pixar likes the little shorts at the beginning, and it was fine. It kept going. Like, after a certain point, you're like, oh, this is great. And then it kept going.
And going.
And then it kept going.
And going.
And then it kept going.
And it did not stop. And even at one point, I leaned over, I'm like, are we watching Frozen or are we watching Coco?
I know.
I was done with it.
I forgot what we were watching again because it just kept going. And the Frozen thing was cute and it was fun and it should have been like a thing on its own, like maybe put on ABC or done somewhere else, just not in front of Coco. And if it was in front of Coco, make it like
a lot, like they did with Cinderella with that whole Frozen thing. That was pretty short.
Yeah.
But this thing was like, it felt like a half-hour long freaking special, and it's like, I'm not there to watch Frozen. Granted, I like Frozen. Right. I'm a fan of Frozen. I'm all for a second Frozen. We even saw a big portion of the whole Frozen thing at D23 as well.
And it was cute, and I loved it too. It just didn't feel like
it dragged out.
It fit for this movie.
So theatrically going and watching Coco, that was the downside to the whole experience of watching Coco. But granted, once Coco got rolling, like not once did I ever feel bored, not once did I ever feel like, oh, when is this going to wrap up? When are we going to get to this point? Like, what is the conflict? I just was in it the whole time.
I'm just enjoying the ride, enjoying the adventure that you go on with Miguel and Hector.
And I could not come up with really anything that I disliked about it, other than the things that I understand. It's in English. I get it. It's got to be. If you're going to be releasing it to general public, I know when they released it in Mexico, like a week before Dia de los Muertos, and ended up becoming like the biggest sensation for Mexico, which is fantastic. I love that. But I would want to watch it again if it was in Spanish with English subtitles. I think I would enjoy that for a second viewing. So either way, rating, what would you give it?
I would actually give it 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5? So yeah, and because I can't come up with a reason why I wouldn't like it or have something to say about it negatively, and I would watch it again, but with Spanish with subtitles, I would give it a 5 out of 5 as well. So that's 2 5s, that equals a 10, y'all.
My familia,
first thing we said afterwards is
we were like, oh, we need to take his abuelita.
Yeah, I gotta take my grandma, my mom, the whole familia. And you had Cheech Marin in there and Edward James almost as well, and of course Benjamin Bratt. But all in all, it was fun seeing and hearing those characters as well. And Michael Giacchino did a fantastic job with the score as well. As always, the man is killer. Got to meet him once at Downtown Disney at D23 as well. It was fantastic. So either way, thank you guys for watching our spoiler review for Coco, and I'm really excited that Disney and Pixar decided to give us this adventure. Thank you so much for the Coco. You can like, you can subscribe.
And you can do the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Stardust.
All the social networking gin joints, you know where they are. Kick into the party, fuel the party, keep the party going at our Patreon. Gets us where we need to go. We're going to Collider Video a couple weeks from now for their big spectacular event, which is basically just the WrestleMania of movie trivia in Burbank, California. And then other than that, it's been a fantastic year, and we are in for an awesome couple weeks of movies, and then we've got The Last Jedi coming out pretty soon. So
so many.
Stay tuned for those reviews, and thank you guys so much. And this party is over.
Sure is.
Thank you so much for the Coco.